sorry, I'm going to let Sue introduce herself, Jessica introduce herself, Lauren introduce herself. I'm the executive director, so that's my introduction. Okay. And then we'll start asking questions. Okay, and then Sue, I'm just
Madux.
Hey Sue, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Well, I'm glad that you're able to interview. So I'll look forward to hearing you, as we ask questions. Thanks. I'm going to put mine on mute when I'm not talking, just to avoid any background noise.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm Jessica Bailey. So you basically, I will be working with whoever the law liaison is directly daily, along with Sue and Jocelyn. So I'm happy to meet you, and I'm excited to hear some of your answers to these questions we have for you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you too.
I'm Lauren. I'm the assistant programs director, and I'll be working with you a lot too. I'll be helping both Jesse and Marshall run the programs.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
You too.
So I'm going to get started and ask you the first few questions, and then it's going to go over to Sue. After Sue, Marshall's going to, I'm sure, have a few questions for you, and then Lauren, and then we're going to give you some opportunity to ask us some questions if you have some, okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
My first question to you is a little bit about the program. During Leadership Initiatives Development Programs, you'll be supporting students while they prepare clients, work with jury selection, and advocate for clients on Capitol Hill. This differs from your previous mock trial experience, I'm sure. How does working for this summer conference differ from your mock trial experience, and how can you use your previous mock trial experience to help you in this position?
Absolutely. So I think the most obvious difference is that in the past I've worked with mock cases. These weren't anything that were actually going to trials. My experience working with students has mostly been restricted to the mock trial arena. So that's obviously a big difference. Having these kids work with actual cases, obviously the stakes are a lot higher, and that's something that I'm really excited to be able to do. But that being said, I think that a lot of the process remains the same. Working with the kids at the Carolina mock trial camp, as well as when I was captaining and helping out with my high school team, a lot of them came in with little to no information or background knowledge about the law in general. So just having to explain kind of those basics behind it all, I think will carry over pretty well. And I like to think that I did a good job at explaining that pretty clearly to the kids. And definitely working with the kids was one of my favorite parts of my mock trial experience over the years. But yeah, I would definitely say that just making sure that they have a foundation will be the most important part, because I've found working with high schoolers for a while that they are really interested in this stuff, and it's cool information. So I think that the teaching behind it, kind of explaining how the law works, the different intricacies of stipulations, case law, and stuff like that, will remain the same. But the biggest change will obviously be that these apply to real life cases, and you can kind of take them outside of the realm. Because mock trial is very restricted to what is given to you. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll be a really exciting challenge for me.
Excellent, thank you. So my next question is, I don't know exactly how much you know about the program or not, but as law liaison, you'll be working directly with David Weber, who is the attorney that works with us over the summer. And you would be to check in with him every morning and throughout the day, periodically, and in the evenings when he's not on campus, to make sure that any updates on the case, anything that has changed that he wants the students to be aware of, is communicated. This sometimes is conflicting because as an employee for Leadership Initiatives, you're going to be directly working with the students, and our biggest mission is making sure the students come first and their needs and whatever educational benefits we can give them are brought first to them. Absolutely. David Weber's, he has to put his client first. So how would you balance these two roles between David Weber's needs to put his clients first and making sure that the students are put first for Leadership Initiatives?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Obviously, I'm really excited to be involved with both. They're both really cool, very unique opportunities. Um, as far as the working with the kids, the high schoolers, I don't think that I'll have any problem managing that. I do have, as I just mentioned, a lot of experience working with kids, kind of teaching them about the law. And I also captained my college mock trial team this past semester. So as far as managing the needs of several different students, kind of under my control, I don't think I'll have any problem with that. As far as Mr. Weber goes, I'm really excited for that opportunity as well. And I think I have plenty of experience kind of catering to the needs of one individual as well. Over the summer, I actually worked with a startup company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was basically me and the founder of this company working kind of out of a warehouse. So I kind of learned how to cater to the needs of one person, kind of listen to what they're needing and act on that, and kind of going outside of what they directly told me to do, and kind of just anticipating needs. So as far as balancing the two, I really don't think I'll have any problem with that. As a college student, I've having to balance stuff all the time, but I'm really excited for that opportunity, and I don't think that'll be any issue.
All right, thank you. Sue, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. So Madux, as you know, you'll be working with groups of students that'll be working together toward a final project of some sort. That'll vary depending on their group's focus. But it might be that when you're working with a group, some students will want to do one thing, and another group of students might want to do something different. They might not be in agreement on the best course of action to attack the project or whatever. Can you describe some of your experience working with groups and helping them come to reach consensus on how to approach a goal and accomplish a task?
Yeah, of course. I really hate to sound like a broken record, but I've just had so many amazing learning opportunities through my time with mock trial. So like I said, I did captain a team this past semester, and we actually had an issue just like that, where we were split right down the middle on what our defense theme should be. And we were arguing about it for days, really. And finally, me and my co-captain, we just sat down with the entirety of our team, and we, explained the benefits of each, what we thought was good, what we thought was bad, and then we had the team vote. And I really do think that it's important to have everyone who's involved with the project involved with decisions like that. So I knew I didn't want it to be just me and my co-captain making that decision. This was something that impacted all of us, impacted really the entirety of the case that we would be running. So I didn't think that would be fair for me to make a kind of an executive decision. So I had the two people who came up with the theme idea kind of explain what they thought the logic behind it was, and we took it to a vote. So I think that my main emphasis would be on making sure that every member of the team is heard, and that ultimately the majority, wins.
Okay, great. And sort of a follow-up for that, how would you describe your leadership style on the whole if you were having to talk to somebody about how you tend to lead groups? What would you say?
Well, I think that one of the most important parts of leading a group is personalities getting along. I kind of go out of my way to make sure that I am getting along with everybody on my team. I am currently best friends with some of the people that I captained last semester, so I really think a personal connection is crucial. On top of that, I do think that making sure that everyone's voices are being heard. I don't consider myself a very I'm trying to figure out a good way to word this. I don't make decisions myself. I like to be involve everybody when that's possible. Obviously, if a problem arises and then it's not an option, then I'll take it upon myself to make what I think is the best decision. But I would definitely say that I really emphasize listening and communicating with the entirety of the team, whether they're directly involved with that decision or not. But I would say that the most important part of being in a leadership position is that personal connection you have with your with your team or whoever's under your control. I love working with high schoolers. That's why I keep coming back to the Carolina mock trial camp. I feel like I bond with them very quickly and very well. So I've really enjoyed that, and I think that's incredibly important.
Great. All right. Thank you. Marshall, you're next.
Thanks so much. Okay, so a couple things that I just want to understand, Madux, and again, we're really excited about your application was, you're going to have, and I know Jesse, asked a little bit about this earlier, but with your previous legal experience, can you explain that in a little bit, further detail? And then, more importantly, you're going to have problems that deal with like complex legal issues. Mm-hmm. And then also you're going to have menial tasks. And I think you touched a little bit about that with that, that startup you were working with. But can you just, explain a little bit more in depth how you'll be able to manage, like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm working with this team to meet with this congressional official to advocate on gender discrimination in the United States that could have lasting effects on the entire nation. And I have to get the head of legal counsel the special salad to make sure they're happy. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think so. Yeah.
So I want to know more about your legal experience besides mock trial, because I know about mock trial and it's amazing. But if you have any additional legal experience or legal classes you're taking, and I also want to confirm you want to be a lawyer in the future. Is that your goal?
Yes, that is the main goal right now. Law school is definitely a major, a plan of mine.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So, yep. So, any previous legal experience, and then how you deal with complex issues, and then the smaller issues, and are you comfortable doing that consistently, switching several times a day?
Yeah, of course. So, in terms of non-mock trial legal experience, I do have some experience working with that. I have spent a lot of time. My high school coach of mock trial was an actual attorney. She had a law firm in Gastonia, North Carolina. So oftentimes when I realized that I had a passion about this, I would come to her office, I would sit down, I would talk to her about cases she's running. And the same actually goes for my father. He's an attorney as well. So I really, really enjoy kind of just sitting down with him, breaking down some of the cases that he has to work on, and helping him out whenever I can. As far as like formal experience, I unfortunately haven't been able to like intern with a law firm or anything like that, but I've been trying very hard to surround myself with as much of that information and learn what I can. And I think what I love about it is that it's all, while it is up to, interpretation, obviously, it's all right in front of you. And no matter how complex the issue, I love that there's an answer out there that you can find if you look hard enough. And that's kind of what I loved about working with my old coach and my dad with his cases. So I don't think I'll have any issues transferring that or carrying that over to working with Mr. Weber at all. In fact, I'm very excited about it. As far as kind of the more menial tasks, I have absolutely no issues with that either. I'm here to help, obviously. I would love to kind of teach the kids what I can, but at the end of the day, I'm here to assist Mr. Weber in the program. So I'm not going to try to, step over that line or anything like that. I have absolutely no problems doing whatever you all need me to do at all.
Great. And then the other question I wanted to ask you was, what do you see? So you've read the job description, you've looked at the website, correct?
Yes,
so
I have.
What do you primarily see as your role in this position? Because again, we'll eventually go into what a typical day really is, but I want to make sure that I understand what you believe a typical day will be in this job.
Right. So from my understanding, it seems like I will kind of be splitting my time between helping out with Mr. Weber on the cases that he's doing, and just, whatever ways I can, whether that be, filing papers or looking up some case law or something like that, just whatever he kind of needs. And then the other half would be kind of serving as almost I guess a camp counselor almost is the way I kind of understood it, like helping out these high school kids as they kind of go through their learning experience. And that was actually one of my questions, is exactly how I would be working with them, just because I'm very excited about that. But that seems to be my understanding, is that I would kind of be just in a kind of guidance role for the high school students as they kind of go through this program?
Yeah, so a lot of the job, you're almost acting like a cable between Sue and Jocelyn, who are the co-directors of the program. And so what we're trying to do is coordinate with you. When David needs something extra, like, hey, the client's running 15 minutes late, you're going to make sure that classroom's ready to go. All the students are sitting down, they're ready to learn. And if he wanted them to research anything ahead of time, that you express that to Sue and Jocelyn, you got them to research and they assign it to the students. Or say it's the opposite end and a client's arriving 30 minutes early, you work with one of the runners on the program to make sure there's coffee. They're waiting for, David and the client. You're working with, David to make sure they understand what the students are doing right now. Or ideally, Sue and Jocelyn come up with an amazing idea for something new experience at the program. And they're like, we want to enact it this week. You work with David Weber to make sure you make the changes to the program and he understands the changes in real time to affect that.
Okay.
And then your main priority, though, is to the students themselves, and ensuring that they get the legal experience for the programs. The idea is we want them to see what it's like to be a lawyer. And so they are real interns, for Godwin Weber PLLC and everything that goes along with that. So they are doing the research, they are talking to the clients, and your job is to make sure they're getting the most fulfillment out of this summit as humanly possible. Does that make sense?
So there'll be times
Thanks,
where
Jess.
you're going to actually be taking over the classroom. You might have 30 students and you're explaining, hey, this is what this is what David Weber needs. These are the options we have to do it. Each group needs to figure out how they want to get to that end result. Or Sue and Jocelyn might notice that there's a few teams that are completely struggling with coming up with any sort of research or any sort of final project. And then it would be your job to sit down there and kind of take charge. You would basically be some sort of teacher in that role. You would be complimenting Sue and Jocelyn in a way that you can connect with the students, you can bring it down to their level, and you are proofreading their stuff but not changing it too much. You are providing them with that sort of expertise that some of them will already have because they've been in mock trial since middle school, but a whole bunch of others, this is their first law experience. So you're kind of getting the whole thing all at once.
Yeah, so you're kind of a jack of all trades, and the coolest part is you get to see with this position like every single aspect of the program.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes total sense. There's a lot more of a I guess a connection between Mr. Weber and the kids than I initially realized, but that's really exciting. I like that a lot.
All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Lauren, who will be asking questions for the board.
Okay, so Madux, like Marshall and Jess just said, a lot of your job involves working with the students, stuff like that. So how would you handle a situation where a student was disengaged and withdrawn from the program, and how would you get them more engaged and more excited about working?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would. I think it would be really important to initiate some very direct communication with them. I'd probably sit down with them and figure out exactly why they've become disengaged. And if it's because they're just not interested in the information, then I'd probably go out and see if I could find a way that they could get involved in a way that they might actually enjoy more. From what you guys just told me, it seems like there's a lot that goes into these different projects, and researching different cases and stuff like that. So I would definitely try to pinpoint what exactly they're interested in and see if I could kind of gear them towards spending their time on that. Because obviously, these kids have some sort of interest in law and the legal system, and I think that you have to be really passionate about that to go through such an amazing program like this. So I think that it'd just be about kind of pinpointing exactly where their interests lie, and hopefully helping them kind of focus on that, just to kind of get the spark back, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Cool. So then the next question is something the board and all of us really want to make sure you understand is the work environment with LI, because it's not a traditional work environment. Everybody works very long hours from like 6 a.m. to usually 11 to 2 a.m. And it has long hours, stressful time constraints, and everybody is stressed and there's a lot of moving parts. So can you tell us a little bit about what your biggest challenge would be with that and how you would overcome it?
I'm sorry, just to make sure I understood the question, it'd be what my biggest challenge would be with that work environment?
Yeah, with the kind of like every moving parts changing, long hours, stressful time constraints, and then how you'd work to overcome it.
Okay. Um, well, if you had asked me that a semester ago, I definitely would have said that I get overwhelmed with very strict time constraints, but I have actually done a lot to improve on that this past semester. Just with captaining the mock trial team in school, and I was actually pledging a business fraternity here. So just all of that on top of itself, I learned to keep a very strict schedule. And so what I've actually ended up doing, and I do it now that my schedule has calmed down, it's kind of become habit, is the night before, if I know I have a busy day, I'll plan it on a planner down to like the minute. So I know exactly what I'm going to be doing when I need to have things done. And it has changed my life, honestly. It has made things so much easier. So I would definitely carry that over to the program. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I think my biggest concern would just be making sure um, that what I'm doing is kind of exactly what a Mr. Weber or the program or the kids need. Um, I feel like that'll be kind of just in the back of my head at all times, but I'm fully confident that I'll be able to, cater to those needs, and I don't see that being an issue either. But I don't like disappointing people. So I think that if I had a challenge, it'll just be making sure that I'm doing things the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Perfect. So Madux, we're going to let everyone go around and then ask one more set of questions, and then you can ask any questions you want of us. So Jessica, do you have additional follow-up questions?
I do. So one of my biggest concerns when hiring people is how they are going to get along with everybody else. We live together, eat together, spend every waking moment together for weeks, basically. And some people, thrive in that kind of environment, and some people do not. So my basic question is, how would your coworkers describe you? And have you ever had a time where you weren't able to get along with people, or at least put your differences aside, in order to make sure that it worked?
Right. That's a great question. Um, if I had to describe kind of how I interact with other people, I would say that I am a very, very social person who loves being around people, but also kind of needs his own space sometimes. So like I said earlier, I love, making these kind of more personal connections outside of just like a work relationship. I think that's incredibly important to kind of maximizing productivity and stuff like that. And I just think it makes things so much easier, so much more fun. Um, but that being said, I do sometimes kind of need like space to kind of focus on my own work and just kind of get away from people. So I'd say I'm I split that line right down the middle. I definitely have had to work with people who weren't that way. Um, like I said, so for example, the company that I worked with over the summer, the founder was not like that. He didn't really enjoy the personal connections part of the side of business. So it was kind of cool to kind of take that mantle kind of up from him. So I kind of handle kind of more personal relationships and stuff like that. So that's one way that I've kind of been able to accommodate for other people. And at the same time, he was able to kind of cover me on some of the other aspects of working with kind of more the data stuff like that. So I think it's really important that you have a balance there. Um, but yeah, no, I would say that I love working with people. It's my favorite part of doing mock trial and doing these kind of summer things. I love the relationships I've made. So I would say that I kind of split that line right down the middle.
Thank you. Sue, do you have another question you would like to ask?
Yes, just one more question. I know that you probably have looked into lots of different summer opportunities. So what about the position with LI especially appeals to you? Like, what's your understanding of the overall focus of the organization and the program, and what is it that draws you to this summer program among other opportunities you might have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, another great question. I hadn't heard of the LI before Sue actually brought it up to me, and as soon as I kind of went on y'all's website and saw what you guys were about, I was fascinated. I think it's so cool what you guys are doing, and I wish I had known about it when I was in high school. And the two things that kind of grabbed my attention is that I would get to do two things that I loved. A, working with the high school students, and B, kind of diving into actual legal cases, which is something that I haven't been able to do. As much as I love mock trial, it is, a fake case. So to be able to kind of apply that knowledge that I've gained and that experience to stuff that really, matters, I was kind of hooked on that immediately. I loved that. The opportunity to have that experience, and that coupled with the working with the high schoolers, kind of impacting them on that level, because I think that learning about this stuff is so incredibly important. Everyone, I try to advocate for my brother and my sister to do mock trial and learn about this as much as they can. They didn't bite, but that's okay. But yeah, I would say that those are the two things that really grab my attention. And like I said, I really wish that I had heard about this when I was in high school, because I would have been all over this. Just that kind of education, I think, is so important.
Great. Thank you. Marshall, you're up next.
Yep. So, Madux, I've got a question. And again, this is one that, the board asked me to ask, because I don't want Lauren to have to ask it. So I want you, there's 5 cases on the LI website for the law program, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to describe 2 of them to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So from what I understand, there were a couple whistleblower cases. I believe that one involved, I'm so sorry, I'm blanking. It was an environmental case, I believe.
Yep.
With some, I believe it was like exotic animals or something like that. I don't want to butcher anything, but it was an environmental whistleblower case. And I believe the other case that really grabbed my attention was the one. It was a whistleblower case on the high level employees of some agency.
Yep.
I know that's not a great description.
No, it's fine. No, it's the FBI whistleblower case, and that makes perfect sense. And then the other one's the endangered species whistleblower case.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And we just do it to ensure you've actually read the website. It's some of our board members work for the Pentagon and like Exxon, and they're brutal in their interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just I consider it kind of a gotcha question, because I know if you were hired, you would learn these cases inside and out, before they happen. But they want me to ask it, so I do. Lauren, are there any other board questions that you need to ask?
Yeah, one more. So let's do with student relations again. How would you deal with complaints about the program, about the material, and about your teaching style from students?
I think that you need to take each one of those kind of separately. So I'll address kind of the teaching style first. If a student came to me about my own teaching style, I want to identify if that was a problem outside of just that student. If I realize that this is something that a lot of students were having problems with, then I have no issue changing to a method that may serve their needs better. This program is about them. So while it may not be my first choice on how to do something, if it helps them, then of course I'm going to make that change. That being said, if it's something very kind of personal to that student, then I would offer to meet with him kind of one-on-one and make sure he understands the material anyways. And just kind of make sure he's still getting the same learning experience that everyone else is. As far as the program and the material go, if there's major complaints, obviously I'm sure you all would agree that we want to make sure that this is the best possible experience for all these students. So of course, if there was an issue or they thought that something could be done better, I would think it warrants at least bringing up to any of you or Sue, so we could have that conversation and see if there's any merit to that suggestion. So yeah, I think obviously we want to maximize, the experience that these kids are having, and if there's something that we can do better, then I think that that's definitely worth listening to. And then as far as the case materials go, that one's a little more interesting. I guess it depends on what the complaint is, really. Um, like I said earlier, if these kids are here and they want to learn, then obviously they have a passion about this stuff. So I think I would just try to identify what that passion is and how they can, you know, realize that through the program.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so Madux, this is your chance to ask us questions. So please, any questions you have at the program, we're happy to answer them. We want to make sure that you have a full understanding of the job that you're applying for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my main question, you guys kind of already answered through the interview. It was about kind of what exactly my role would be with the kids, because I really do love working with high school kids. So the fact that I would get to kind of be able to help them and teach them myself is really exciting. But maybe if you guys could kind of go into more specifics about how exactly I'd be interacting with them, like how often I would be seeing them on a day-to-day basis, or stuff like that, if that makes sense.
No problem. Yeah. I can take care of that. So basically, you would be with the kids from 7 a.m. until 11 o'clock, almost daily. David comes to campus, and then your focus would stay with the kids, but would shift to David, as in, David, what do you need? What can I do? Where do you think I am needed? Asking him all those questions, asking if there's anything he needs, like an iced tea, where you'd instantly call me and say, David needs an iced tea, Jess. You need to get it over here immediately so we don't have an issue. Those kind of things would also be on your plate. You would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner with all the students so that people would feel that they could approach you. You would be accompanying them to Congress and making sure they understood, they were calm enough to go into Congress and speak on behalf of their clients, and that they would be comfortable doing that. You would be kind of assisting with watching them, not participating in that, just being their like facilitator in that. You would be facilitating when they have like expert meetings. So making sure that when the jury consultation team comes in, that all the students are there asking the right questions. If they're not, maybe go and write one down and say, hey, this is a good question. You need to think about asking something similar to this to one of the students, so that question gets asked, but it's not getting asked by you, it's getting asked by one of them. Mm-hmm. So that they kind of get that sort of brain stimulation where they're understanding, I need to be a critical thinker. I need to start working this way, and it's not coming from you, it's coming from them. Our whole goal is to prepare these students so that they are critical thinkers and they are capable of having these careers some days, and some it takes longer than others to get there. Helping them prepare for a presentation. Some people really hate public speaking. I'm one of those people. I do it anyways, but like preparing them to feel confident. So if a really wants to go over it with you, you're staying up until midnight and you're going over, I'll be up too. Just Lauren, Marshall, and I will be up to it all the time until the last kid goes to bed before their presentation to make sure they're prepared. So your number one role is going to be working with the students. That being said, your goal is to make sure that students are doing exactly what David needs them to be doing to prepare the client.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Oh, no, that makes perfect sense. That was very helpful.
Yes, you're up nonstop. We're basically Energizer bunnies for the entire summer until the end. It's extremely rewarding. The amount of letters we get after the program saying how much it meant to them, saying, this really helped me get into, like the amount we got after college applications back saying, you're the reason I got into this college. You're the reason I'm focused on this career path. That kind of stuff is why we do this. So there's a benefit, but during the summer, there's never a time you're not almost in tears because you're so tired. Sue, did I describe that pretty properly?
Yeah, I think that was a good description.
That sounds right, Jess.
Yep.
No, that sounds very exciting, and that was a great answer. That exactly what I was looking for. Could you? Okay, so I noticed that on the website that there were those 5 cases that we were discussing earlier.
Yep.
Um, so could you explain exactly how would I be working on all 5 of those cases, or do certain students work with like certain like how
So as
exactly?
the liaison, you will be working on every single case. So
Okay.
there's not a single case that you don't touch in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
You'll meet with clients from all 5 cases. You'll be working with David directly to make sure the students understand all 5 cases. So you don't focus on just one case. We have one liaison and one David Weber, and your job is to make sure both function very, very well for the entire conference.
Okay.
So, anytime like he's like, can bring in these 2 clients on Monday, you work to make sure there's people greeting them. We make sure we have everything they need. When the students have questions and they're not getting a response from David, you're the one who gently pushes him. If he doesn't respond, then you let us know, and then we more strongly push him to get the answers that we're looking for. You pick it up as you go along, but yes, you'll be working on every single case. So when you're done with this, the coolest thing you'll be able to say is, I worked on one of the bigger endangered species cases in the year 2019. I worked on the biggest gender discrimination case here. I worked on a very important FBI whistleblower case, and I worked with congressional officials to bring that to the national attention. So every single case brings with it a little bit of importance and prestige. Just so you understand how this works, the clients doing these cases could not afford to bring their cases forward without us. So the reason we're able to get access to high-level cases like this is because we actually fund a fair amount of their legal fees to bring them to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So how does that work in terms of the students? What, like, so say I was a student in this program, would I be working on one of these cases, or would I kind of be touching all 5 as well?
No, every student only works on one case.
Okay.
That's a great question.
And they'll be working on. We're in the works of figuring this out, but I believe that they might be working on a certain aspect of that case, and then each participant will be working on a different aspect of each case.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And another clarifying thing, there are 5 cases, but 3 of them are for the Law Tier 1 program, and then 2 of them are for the Law Tier 2. So it's not ever 5 all in one week. It's 3 or 2 in one week, depending on.
Yeah.
Very good point, Sue.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Could you, I just have one more question. Could you tell me a little bit about the kind of that final project that they'll be doing, like what the end game is? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So it's changing a little bit. So I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and then Sue's going to follow up because her and Jocelyn are looking to refine it. But what we're trying to do right now is each case has different needs that'll benefit the client in different ways. So what we're trying to do is find out the exact ways that can most benefit the clients. So for example, students last year really did work on witness prep for the Paul Manafort case. And that witness, the thing she needed the most help with was witness prep. So the final exam for the students working on that case is they did a mock cross-examination of her as Paul Manafort's, defense team, trying to get her to make a mistake. And that was incredibly helpful in preparing her to even do her pre-trial in front of Robert Mueller's team. And that's something not very many people have the opportunity to do. The other group for the gender discrimination case last year that is now moving up to higher levels of the court this year that the students work on the Law Tier 2, and they were presenting cases that showcase that gender discrimination was actually occurring in the workplace. So they were helping find the case law that they would use to present to the judge saying, yeah, this is why this is true. Here's the previous cases that prove this type of discrimination, this gender discrimination is actually happening in the workplace. Sue, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, we're still in the process of working on finalizing what the projects would be, but it would be things like that. So depending on what the case is, some of the students would be preparing a witness for direct exam or cross-examination, the kinds of questions that they might have to face, and then others would be working on researching cases similar to last year that could be used in making appellate arguments or arguments before the court. So, and all of them pretty much will be, or most of them will be preparing as well to advocate for their client on Capitol Hill. So that's sort of an ancillary project for a lot of the students, is learning what the main issues are, and we'd be setting up appointments for them to speak with congressmen to advocate for justice to be happening in these different venues, and so helping them learn how to advocate clearly and what kinds of points they'd want to bring up for the congressman and that kind of thing. So, so they would have one main project, and each case might have several different groups that have specific different end goals, just so that they're not all doing the same exact thing, but they're bringing more value to the client because they've got different aspects that they're helping out with.
Yeah, wow, that is so fascinating. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really wish I'd heard about this when I was in high school. That is so interesting to me.
So I have one more question before we get off. I know probably have to go in a minute, but so part of the program is you would be interning before the program starts, and that would be about 6 hours a week. And I wanted to make sure that you don't believe that would be an issue or interfere with your studying. Basically, the idea is if you were offered the position, you would start by the end of February, and you would be meeting David Weber, at least over the phone, start understanding the cases, studying up the cases. So you'd only have to sign an NDA, study up on the cases, understand them fully so that you could explain them to me, and then be able to start preparing all the materials students would need so that they understood the cases, and be working with Sue and Jocelyn on curriculum and making sure we have a very well-rounded program by the time June comes around. Do you think that that will be an issue at all for you to fit into your schedule?
No, I do not at all. I'm wrapping up my last week of mock trial right now, and that's kind of my only other extracurricular that I do outside of school. I do have a job, but those hours are very flexible, so I don't think that'll be an issue at all.
Okay, excellent.
Perfect. All right, any other questions for us, Madux?
Not that I can think of, no. I think you guys answered pretty much all the questions I had.
Well,
Excellent.
in a very positive way, you've been our longest interview. So,
It's great.
thank you for your time tonight. Very, 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 very much. And just so you know, a little bit to understand like what our timeline is, we're looking to make sure everyone has answers the week of, by the 22nd at the latest. We're hoping early next week, we'll have, a lot of this worked out. Just please understand, we have to review this by the board to get final approval. We're gonna, discussions. There's 5 candidates, so it takes some time. Okay.
That's absolutely fine. Y'all take all the time you need.
Okay. Well,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to speak with me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Madux.
Great talking with you.
Bye.
Take care, Madux.
Bye.
Bye. Y'all have a good evening.